responsibility. They can't just say, "Oh, these are anti-vaxxers," or "These are people," because there are anti-vaxxers, and they're silly. They're silly in my opinion, right? But there are people who are genuinely hesitant because the trust is not there. There's a lot of mistrust, and you can't, right? You can't wish away that mistrust. There has to be a lot of effort, a lot of work to be done. And the first, right, the first kind of towards that, the first step towards that is what? Acknowledging that there is a problem, right? Acknowledging that there is a problem, acknowledging that perhaps may have made a mistake, acknowledging that perhaps you may have not done the right thing all the time, being humble, right? Showing humility, being humble in that, and this is generally in our these principles we can apply that generally in our day-to-day behavior as individuals, right? People can be strong-minded. We should be strong-minded in the sense that we should study and learn and have opinions, right? As long as the opinions are conveyed in a right. So having strong opinions and having debating and discussing, right, is not a problem. The problem comes when people start to debate and discuss when they're while they are rude and disrespectful. That's bad. But the other bigger problem, in my opinion, is that even people, you might have discussion with certain people. So woke culture, I talked about. You might have discussions and debates, right? And people will call you, say, brand you with so many different labels because they can't handle it, because they're so insecure about themselves, about their beliefs, about their opinions, about their understanding and assumptions, right? What they do, they're not able to have a rational, logical debate about it in a respectful manner, but they lash out and they call, they put labels in front of people's things. So, but point is that if I want to um, gain a person's trust, right? What I have been doing certain things for the last 5, 10, 20, 30 years, I have not been doing certain things which will facilitate, which will be amenable for people to have trust, right? Now, all of a sudden, I say you have to. As Muslims, we can't what do you call it? All of a sudden, blame them, right? We can't blame them. We have to. There has to be some sort of understanding, taking it step by step, right? There has to be a gradual approach, but the underlying issues need to be dealt with. This, as I said, the socio-economic, political, you know, negligence, Islamophobia, and racism that has been, you know, going on for such a long time, right? Why wouldn't people want to take the vaccine if they, if it saves people's lives? And people understand that it does save people's lives, but people are not always rational, beings, right? Meaning people don't always think rationally, right? They think emotionally, right? They think with their subjective experiences. They look at the bad experiences that they had, and sometimes they project it. And sometimes we have to just understand that, appreciate that, empathize with that, right? But not to hide it, but you have to. If you're in a position of responsibility like the government is, right, they have to understand, right, that they have a responsibility to build that trust again, not wish away, not, and look what is happening, now there's campaigns about, khutbas about giving vaccination and stuff. I've given khutbas about vaccination, right? But when there is a campaign, you go on certain media platforms, like Islamophobic platforms, and you say, "Oh, Muslims are not taking the vaccination because they consider it to be haram," right? It diverts, right? There's a fine line. It diverts the attention away from the real problems, and it places the blame game upon the Muslims, right? Look at, for example, just today, in a school, 400 people attended a wedding. It's a non-Muslim, right? You hardly hear it on the news. I'm not saying I'm not saying that you should go out and look for those. Yeah? You hardly hear it in the media. But if you were a Muslim, It'll be all around. You see imams condemning and scholars condemning khutbahs upon khutbahs upon khutbahs and going on media and say this is wrong, blah 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 blah. What, but because it's not Muslims, or it's not ethnic minority perhaps, right? They ignore it. And the media, some media, they want to do this. And unfortunately, some imams and some ignorant people, they fuel this agenda, Islamophobic narrative and agenda. I'm not saying we should not, we should not promote the vaccine. I'm not saying that we should not, clarify misconceptions and stereotypes. I'm not saying that. But there's a fine line. How you do that, how you convey yourself, how you, in what context and what platform, right? If I go to a platform where they already have, they already post Islamophobic, they have an Islamophobic agenda, right? That Islam is evil, or Muslims are bad, Muslims are the problem, and then I go and imbue that narrative in the leadership is a problem, because they want to ignore the bigger problem, because the elites, right? It goes in their favor, because they don't want to talk about the real problems. Because if you talk about the real problems, then you don't have anyone to blame. And Muslims are always the scapegoats. Muslims are always the scapegoats, unfortunately, right? Someone said, I read somewhere, that the Muslims are the new blacks. I mean, I think that's incorrect, because Muslim is not Islam. Muslim is not a race. A person from a black community, a white community, brown community, Asian community, European community can be Muslim. The point is correct, that Muslims are the scapegoat because of the failures of the governments, right? Failures of the government, and we have to be extra careful, brothers and sisters. If you're doctors, if you're responsible for part of a mosque, that how we convey the message to the people and the wider community, right? We will be held accountable on the Day of Judgment. We'll be held accountable on the Day of Judgment, right? To give the right message, give the right projection of Islam and the Muslim, right? So this the main point of my kind of message, my main message today, brothers, is that this can be a government level, it can be a state level, it can be individual level, or it could be community level, right? Is that if we have, we have to gain trust. And one of the ways to do that is empathize, right? And try and understand the situation from the other person's shoes, right? Try and understand the situation from the other person's shoes. It doesn't mean that we validate wrong things or wrong perceptions. It doesn't mean that, right? I'm not saying that. But if we are able to empathize, intellectual empathy, emotional empathy, psychological empathy, then people feel that they've been heard. Not in a very, this dry counseling format that, I hear you. I've seen people saying, I hear what you're saying, but well, what does that mean? Right? You hear me, but I want you to do something about it. Right? You're patronizing me. Just keep on saying that you hear me, you hear me, you hear me. I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about, empathy that also leads to action. This is what empathy means. Empathy, yes, you're listening, you're attentive, you're seeing the situation from the other person's shoes, but also that propels you to do good, that propels you to help the people. Like, for example, like when we say, empathize with the poor, and some people say, look, yeah, I see the poor are really, subhanallah, what can, may Allah guide them, protect them, subhanallah, what can we do? You're empathizing, yeah, right? But that's not enough. The empathy has to lead to action, that you help, you do amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, you enjoin the good and forbid the evil, right? So, the Muslim, the Prophet empathized, but his empathy led to helping the poor and the needy. His empathy led to helping the downtrodden in the society. His empathy, led to, right, creating an environment where everyone felt safe, Muslim, non-Muslim, everyone. That is the empathy that we need to understand. That is the way we can build trust, having husnul dhan and building trust, helping each other, giving that physical help, right? Not just spiritual, but the physical help, right? In every way we can, we come together, right? وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. That, help each other and cooperate with one another in goodness. Cooperate with one another in goodness, meaning help each other wherever you can, because you'll be held accountable on the judgment. God will ask you if you help those people, right? So, when it comes to the situation, what is happening now, if we go and help the Islamophobes, of course you will be held accountable on the day of judgment. You can say, I'm being sincere. Well, sincerity is not enough. You have to have the right knowledge. You have to have the right understanding of the context. There are a lot of people who are sincere. There are crazy people who are sincere. There are some anti-vaxxers who are very sincere, but they're wrong, right? They're very sincere in what they believe, but they're very wrong. Yeah, you have to have sincerity, but you also have to have the right knowledge, the right framework, the right understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. Inshallah, I'll stop here and take any comments or questions, inshallah.
If there's no questions, there's a couple of announcements to make, so I'll just give it another 30 seconds or so, Shay.
Okay.
Okay, just while we're waiting, as I said, a couple of quick announcements. Firstly, tonight there'll be Kids Club at 5 p.m. Tomorrow, Saturday 23rd at 4:30 p.m. there'll be a girls circle, and on Monday the 1st of Feb at 9 p.m. There's a Principle of Hadith course starting. There is also, incidentally, a parenting course starting on the 3rd of Feb at 8 p.m. If you are interested in any of those, please sign up to the email or WhatsApp broadcast for more details. And not forgetting Surah Yusuf on Sunday, of course, with Imam Abdullah. That'll be at 8 p.m. So do look out for all of those. February looked to be incredibly busy, mashallah. So we're doing all we can to put on as many online activities while the masjid is closed. So Sheikh, if there's no more questions, please could you finish with the dua?
جزاك الله خير. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة انك انت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من ازواجنا وذرياتنا قرة اعين واجعلنا للمتقين اماما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides every one of us. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in our knowledge and our awareness. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect everyone, all of humanity from the coronavirus pandemic. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to come and pray in the masajid again. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens his doors of rahmah very soon again. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us long lives in his obedience and upon the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guard you. سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Sheikh, just before you go, there was a question that came up on the chat. So if you could have a look at that. Do you have eyes on that? Otherwise, I can read it out. It's on the Q&A.
Yeah, on Q&A. Yeah, okay. Would you arrange or aware of Muslim grievance counseling? I lost my father and been really struggling mentally, and I be other brothers and sisters in the same boat. Yeah. So if you contact the mosque, what's the email, Amir? Info at. Amir, can you hear me?
Yes, Sheikh. Sorry, I was just getting it out of the.
What's the email? Info at.
It is contact at.
Okay, contact, yeah. Contact at.
Al.
Al, yeah.
Al hyphen.
Yeah.
EM.
Yeah.
ANN.org.uk.
.org.uk. So you can inshallah contact the mosque with that email, and inshallah they'll forward it to me. Yes,
actually,
I do that.
So Sheikh, there's
the
better address is actually info at. So you're right. So it's info at al-emaan.org.uk. Either will work, but info will be better if the brother or sister would like to contact.
So if you, inshallah, yes, I do grievance counseling. Inshallah. So please contact the mosque, and hopefully we can make an appointment. Inshallah. Any more? No, that's it. Inshallah. Okay, we'll end it here, inshallah. So, but I'll hopefully see you or online on Sunday again. Otherwise, inshallah, next Friday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, and Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for everyone that joined the call. Inshallah, see you at any of the other activities. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.